everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little different than the beauty videos I do. I do a poll on Instagram every day, Monday through Friday, and I've been doing them for about a year or so. So once I hit that year mark, I was like, let me open up my DMs or whatever to my followers and have them ask me questions and I'll answer them. So a couple were about my luxury goods, how I afford them, if I buy new or pre-loved, and I figured I'd just do a video all about that. I'm hoping this video will help any of you guys who don't buy designer and are interested in it or don't think you can afford it, because before I started my job a couple years ago, I was not able to at all, and now thankfully I'm able to afford things. But you know, you have to be very strategic with your money, otherwise you're going to like either waste it or, you know, end up with something you don't love. So that's what this video is going to be about. If you're new to my channel, I do beauty videos, but I'm thinking of trying to step into different areas here and there just to keep you guys entertained with new things, and then I can get feedback on what you like. So essentially, the first question I got asked was, do I buy my things new or pre-loved? Most of my designer items are pre-loved. I have purchased a few things from boutiques, but those were kind of like special instances. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is why I buy things pre-loved. So first and foremost, I think I buy pre-loved mostly because I love a good deal. My mother is like the deal queen and she's always getting things for like ridiculous prices, and I've kind of adopted that same mindset in terms of most things in my life. And when it comes to designer goods, I feel like there is no point necessarily in paying retail unless you're looking for like specific things that are in season that you can't find online. But more often than not, buying pre-loved means you can save hundreds to thousands of dollars off the retail price. So for example, I have right here a purchase I made from Fashionphile back in July, and it's a bag. And I've been looking for a red handbag for a while, and I figured I would just like figure out what I wanted so that when the time came I could snatch it right up. And when it happened, I was just so happy because I got a really good deal on it. For those of you who don't know, Fashionphile is an online consignment shop. They started on eBay, I believe, and then they kind of like blew up over time, and now they have some in-store locations, but I think most people do their shopping on their website, and you can find all kinds of stuff on there, from shoes to jewelry, handbags, and like some other things, I guess. I made my first purchase on Fashionphile in July, and I've been looking for a red handbag for quite a while, and I knew I wanted it to be a Chanel because I love Chanel. Chanel's probably my favorite designer. And I did a lot of research first to figure out what kind of bag I wanted, the color. I said, okay, this is the specific shade of red I want, because Chanel comes out with different shades of red with every passing season. So a lot of people sort of covet specific shades from different seasons. And I found the one I wanted, the color I wanted. They made back in 2012, so obviously I couldn't go into the store and buy it myself now because the red that they make now is very different. And I actually follow this girl on Instagram who's like super nerdy about this stuff, and I sent her a couple links to some of the bags I was interested in, and she was like, this one looks like it's a really good price for the condition. So I decided to save it in my favorites and then wait for it to go on sale to see if it would. And it actually ended up going on sale. So I made the purchase, and then it arrived looking beautiful. So this is the bag I bought. This is the Chanel Classic Flap in the jumbo size, and this is obviously red, but this red is from their release in 2012. Chanel pieces go by the season and the year. So for example, this came out in 2012 in their autumn collection. So this red is referred to as the 12A red. And a lot of people love this red because it's like a very true lipstick red, but it also is kind of a chameleon. So in different light, it'll look darker. In some light, it'll look like a hot cherry red. So I've really fallen in love with this bag. But the reason I went through Fashionphile is because it was a lot cheaper. So I paid less than half the current retail price of what a classic flap is going for in the boutique. So that was definitely awesome because like it saved me a sizable amount of money. If you don't know how much Chanel bags cost, I would suggest you Google that and then proceed to throw up or scream or whatever it is you're gonna do. I think besides the price, a lot of the stuff you'll see on the pre-loved market is in really good condition. So this bag, it's not in the best condition, but like the sides aren't like, I think the way to tell if a bag is in good condition is if the sides are like poking out. The first Chanel bag I bought, the sides were like kind of flat and I was like, oh my god. But I actually sent it to leather surgeons and they made it look good as new. And a lot of the time with Fashionphile, they'll list a bag as being like good condition and it comes and I'm like, this is better than good. And that's the experience I had with this, so that was really nice. If something is on the pre-loved market and you'd like it but you don't think the condition is great, there are services that can fix up the bag. So like I said, I sent one of my bags to leather surgeons and it came out looking brand new and that bag is like 10 years old. Kind of like on the verge of being like a vintage piece, but it looks beautiful. I even took it to the boutique and the people there were like, wow, I've never seen a bag look this good. Yeah, for a relatively small fee, you can get a bag rehabbed and it can look great as new, and then you've saved so much money because you bought for cheap in like a condition and fixed it up. And then I think another great reason to buy pre-loved is because a lot of people will buy things that are current season and then they decide they hate them, and by the time they figure that out, either they can only get store credit or they can't return it, so they'll just like pass it off to a personal shopper or consignment store, and you can get bags that are hard to find for close to retail, sometimes a little bit more than retail if the bag is new and like very highly coveted. For example, the Louis Vuitton Pochette Métis. That bag is so coveted that like a lot of times it sells for more than retail. So the pre-loved market is a great way to get things that are hard to find, that are in stores but like sold out. Also, it's a really great way to find things that are rare or discontinued or obviously, like I said, sold out. And then vintage items. Vintage items obviously you can't buy in boutiques, and a lot of people like vintage items because they think that the quality or the craftsmanship is better than what's in store, and I think I've seen a lot of people talk about that. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about this stuff, and I'm in Facebook groups and like in forums. It's just like something I like. And I hear a lot of people say this, so I myself have yet to buy like a true vintage piece, like something from like the 90s, to see how it compares, but I have something on my list for my next purchase that I think I can definitely test out that theory. Also, in terms of pre-loved, it's a great way to be sustainable. So I know a lot of people are worried about like the environment, and you might be thinking like, that's such a superficial way to combat climate change, but the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries in the world, and consumers, I think, are starting to understand that like extending the life of a garment or an accessory keeps it out of a landfill. Buying pre-loved is definitely one way to, you know, help the planet and look good while doing it. So I also think pre-loved is good for those people who like to rotate through bags a lot. So obviously, if you don't have like a ton of money to be just buying and buying, and you're not interested in like renting bags either, which is a whole other thing, but some people will buy pre-loved and then they'll resell like a year later because they want something new, but it also didn't put them out of a ton of money, so like the loss that they'll suffer is not as big. I think the last thing about buying pre-loved is just, I don't really think the boutique experience is worth the money. And like some of you guys are gonna be like, are you crazy? Like, it's the best, they give you champagne and blah blah. And I know my bag is authentic, but like I feel like for several $1,000s less you can keep that money in your pocket and you can get your bag authenticated. There are tons of people who can authenticate bags who are super skilled with it, so I don't think that's like the biggest reason to buy new. So let's just talk a little bit about where I've purchased bags from. So obviously, this came from Fashionphile. It's my one and only Fashionphile purchase. I actually had this bag sent to a friend's house so that I wouldn't have to pay the tax on it, and then she sent it to me. I've actually done that with a few things because it's like if you're spending all this money and you're paying like lots of money in tax, like why don't you just game the system? Also, the Real, I found a bag that I've been searching for so long, and I finally got it. I actually haven't worn it yet because I'm like weird. Sometimes it takes me a while to like actually use my stuff. And the experience was great. I also bought a pair of Louboutins there for like under 300 bucks, and sadly they don't fit my feet as well as I would like. I've only worn them once and I might just resell them. A lot of people are skeptical about the Real because they found some fakes on there within the last few years, and then Chanel sued them because it wasn't clear that they weren't partnering with them to sell the goods, and they were like, oh, we can't have that. So I would just be careful if you're shopping on the Real. Obviously you should be a, you know, informed consumer, and like if you feel like something isn't authentic, you should get it authenticated. With eBay, I've actually purchased most of my designer things from eBay, I believe. Yeah. I bought a couple bags on there, a pair of shoes, and maybe something else. I can't remember, but I definitely used eBay at least 3 times. eBay, you have to be careful as well. So they do have a section where they have things that are already pre-authenticated, and then there's everything else. So when you're trying to buy something that's not in that section, you definitely want to check the seller's reviews, see what else they're selling. A lot of sellers who are legit just have an eBay store. If you see that they're shipping from Japan, they're probably authentic because Japan is like very anti-fake. I was there last month, or in November, depending on when I'm putting up this video, and I got to go to a few of the consignment shops there, and it was just like heaven on earth. But they're really strict about the fake market, and they're just not into that. I've also used some personal shoppers. I found them through one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and based on like who they follow and who follows them, I can tell that the stuff they buy and sell is authentic. And I feel like it's also just a way to get a really good deal. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I bought a coat from Tradesy, and I got like 60% off retail, which was amazing. I trust those sites. Obviously, you should still be careful because I'm pretty sure no site is, you know, fireproof. Obviously, they offer money-back guarantees if your item is deemed fake. I know Fashionphile is very strict about their vetting process though. So let's talk about my tips and tricks. Obviously, do your research. Oftentimes, you are not going to be able to return the item depending on where you buy from. Like Fashionphile, I think they have a 30-day return policy. Real does not accept returns for bags. I think Tradesy is the same way. They don't accept returns, but you can re-consign your bag through them, and I don't think they'll charge you fees or something within a certain time period. I'm not exactly sure. I would say definitely do research to make sure buying new or pre-loved, whichever one, make sure the way you're gonna do it makes the most sense for you. A lot of bags go down in value once you've purchased them. So for example, a Birkin bag. A Birkin bag is never gonna be a bad investment just because they go up so much in price every year. Like, they do better than the stock market. So a bag like that, you can buy anywhere, honestly. Buy it new, buy it pre-loved, whatever the case is, and you'll probably retain your money or even make a profit, depending on the condition it's in and like how rare it is and the size and all that. But a lot of bags do go down like in value once they're purchased. For example, Chanel has a bag called the Reissue, and it looks kind of like this, but the lock is different and all that, and the chain is different, and that bag just doesn't hold up well. So sometimes on Fashionphile you'll see it selling for like a couple $1,000s, maybe $3 grand, depending on the condition, and that bag is like nearly $7,000. So you definitely, I would never buy a bag new that drops in value that much. I know a lot of people are like really into like trendy bags and stuff, but I think trendy bags often do dip in value quite a bit, like after 6 months to a year after they're popular. So if you can get like your trendy stuff for cheap, I would definitely do that. Like I said earlier, authenticating anything you buy pre-loved is important. I am not the best at that though. I've had certain things sent in to leather surgeons and they've come back authentic. I sent one of the bags I bought on eBay to get some work done at Louis Vuitton, and it was authentic because they didn't tell me it wasn't. I trust the resellers that I've purchased from, so I really feel like I'm fine, but you know, maybe one day something I have will be deemed fake, but I really doubt that. There are a lot of websites you can go to authenticate things. I know a lot of people like to use Authenticate For You, Entropy is another one, and Real Authenticators or Real Authentication is another one. Leather Surgeons does it, and Leather Surgeons I would probably trust the most. I know Leather Surgeons, like, they will open your bag up when they're trying to fix it, and they can see, like, based on what's inside or how it's made, like, this is real, this is fake, whatever. So that's definitely important, especially if you're buying from a place like eBay. So my next tip I think is just a no-brainer for anything you buy in life, and it's be firm about what you want and what you can afford. So when I purchased my first Chanel bag, I was looking for something very specific. So I was looking for a black bag in the same size. It's the same bag but in black with gold hardware, but I was looking for one from a specific time period because I wanted the hardware to be plated with gold. And that bag also only has one flap on the inside, or one flap. This has two. This is the second flap. I only wanted it with one, and they only made that for like a couple years. So it took me a very long time to find that bag. I would search every day, like Fashionphile, eBay, wherever. And I finally found it, and it was like, it was a little bit more expensive than I wanted, but I could still afford it. I had the cash. I was just like, all right, you know what? Probably not gonna find it for a while. And then, like, eventually, as I kept, you know, window shopping, I did find the same bag for a little cheaper and in better condition, but you know what? It's fine because I don't regret it. I had it for quite a while before I found them. I definitely feel like you have to be comfortable with what you're spending and what you want. Like, there were so many times where I would see a bag pop up that was within my budget but wasn't what I wanted. Like, it was a different size or different hardware color or different leather, and it's really not worth it to just settle on something. I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is like the bag that's gonna start my collection, but that makes no sense to me. Like, just get what you want and do it when you are able to do it comfortably, and then you will just love the bag that you have and everything will be Gucci. The next tip I have is you should definitely know the original price of your bag, because then you can know what is a good deal and what's not based on the condition. So if a bag costs like $2,500 and you find one in good condition for like $2,400 on a Preloved site, I don't really think it's worth it to do that, because you're only saving $100, and like, you can go in the boutique, have the experience, know it's real. But if you're gonna save like $1,000, you can find it for $1,500. That makes sense to me, because then you're getting a decent amount of savings. I feel like there's a certain point at where it doesn't really matter, unless the bag is super hard to find or whatever the case is. Then I would definitely say, you know, make sure you know what it costs and then make your decision from there. Also, guys, just reading, as RuPaul says on his show, reading is fundamental. So what that means is make sure you know what condition your bag is in, because pictures don't always tell you. Like, you could see a bag that looks beautiful and then not read the description, and then when it gets to you, realize there's an odor, or, you know, something else is missing with it that wasn't in the pictures that you can't see. So definitely make sure you do your reading. Also, reviews. If they have a ton of good reviews, you're probably fine, but if not, or they don't have a ton, you might not want to buy from them. That's just my opinion. Another thing is you have to be reasonable and have reasonable expectations and being open-minded about what you're getting. You're not going to get something that's perfect, in perfect condition or unused for like a little amount of money. Obviously, people want to make money or retain as much money as they can. So it's important to just know what you're willing to accept. So some people don't want to buy a bag that doesn't come with everything, like the original box and packaging and the dust bag and the authenticity card, but some people are willing to, depending on what the bag is. So there was one bag that I bought that I've been looking for so long. The price is so crazy because it's discontinued, or at least it's not released very much. And I found it finally from this seller who I'm like actually pretty good friends with now, I think. And she was like, it doesn't come with the authenticity card. And a lot of people are like, well, if it doesn't come with the authenticity card, I don't want it. And I was just like, you know what? It's a good price, and I'm just gonna do it. And I trust her, and I think like it was one of the best purchases I've made, even though it was like the most expensive bag I purchased. But and then later I saw it for like less money and like had the card, and I was so sad. But you know what? You live and you learn. The last two things I have to say are be patient, because you know, you don't want to rush into something and then you're out a ton of money if you don't love it. And ask a lot of questions. So if you're buying something from someone, like let's say on eBay or even from Fashionphile, asking them for more pictures, or you know, asking questions about like odor and like how long they've had the bag or why they're selling it. You couldn't ask Fashionphile why they're selling the bag, because obviously they're selling it because someone else didn't want it. But those things matter, because then it allows you to think about how old it is, and then you can see if the price is worth it to you. Asking questions is never a bad thing. Like if you're asking a ton of questions and a seller is like hesitant to answer them, then you don't want to do business with that person, because they shouldn't get your money if they're being mean to you, you know? And at the end of the day, everyone works hard for their money. You want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth, you know? Last thing I'm going to talk about is money. I'll usually use PayPal to pay for it, because I know I have protection on PayPal, and I'll use their PayPal credit. So for purchases over $99, you have 6 months interest free to pay something off. So sometimes I can just put it on the card and then pay it off in cash, or sometimes I'm just like, you know, let the money just sit in my account, and then I'll put a little bit towards it every like paycheck or so, and then before you know it, it's paid off and we're all good. One, set a budget, and two, if you can't pay for it like relatively quickly, or at least within 6 months, if you're going to use like PayPal or one of these other credit cards that will give you time to pay for it, don't buy the bag. It's really not worth the debt you're gonna get into, and the peace of mind. Having no peace of mind is just not worth it for a material item. I know some people like to have a separate savings account for big purchases, and then they'll like label it with whatever the thing they're saving for is, and slowly they'll do it. I would definitely just say, know what you want, know what you'll pay for it, be flexible if necessary. Like if you find the thing that you want and it's in perfect condition and it's just an extra like $100 more, it might be worth it. If it's an extra $1,000 more, I don't think that's ever worth it. I think I've rambled long enough. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this was informative. I have a lot to say on the topic of bags. So if you want to chat about that in the comments, leave me a comment and I will definitely get back to you. If you like videos that are not beauty related, kind of like this, let me know, and then maybe I can do some more. I'd like to do some fun things, you know, eventually, like videos about my life in New York City and things like that. So anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I love you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!